And I'm Michael Sparling.
And this is working so far. So heads up, you guys, Verizon is having a total meltdown. So I have it 100% on Starlink. So we'll hope that this works. If it doesn't, we'll see you guys next week. But hopefully it does work. It's so crazy, Michael. I cannot make any phone calls.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it's kind of a wild feeling.
Well, right. And I'm gonna try because it wasn't even letting me use my Wi-Fi calling my Wi-Fi calling yesterday. But the creepiest part, those of you guys who are also having Starlink issues, it was like a nationwide thing, like millions and millions of people. Good morning, Susan. Um,
Starlink or
Verizon.
Verizon? It's
But
just Starlink, so yeah, Verizon.
yeah, and it's a technical issue. And yet, when I call, like I tried to call Kip just a few minutes ago to test it, it wants you to go to Verizon Financial Services. Like, I don't think so. But they're saying it's not a hack. But I was dreaming, I was having nightmares about my phone being hacked and like somebody publishing on my behalf and like it's like kind of funny.
That'd be top priority for them to hijack your
Uh,
horsemanship and
right.
real estate business,
Yeah, yeah.
Highly lucrative hack right there, or
Totally. Like,
be able to,
why would it be me?
yeah.
Sending texts on my behalf and all that. Anyway, how are you this morning?
If I get a text that says you suck, I don't ever want to be associated with you. I'll be like, definitely a hack.
Exactly. Exactly. Wasn't that funny yesterday? I was like, every time I opened a message from you, I was like,
Oh,
it's really
just
weird.
yesterday or always?
Not always. Not always. It was yesterday. I don't know. Pretty funny. So, what's on your mind?
After all the encouragement, your those are your thoughts.
That
That's
just
what
means,
that's what your subconscious is dwelling upon.
well, I think what it really means is that I want your approval.
Um,
Like, and
Perhaps.
I think especially too, moving to a little bit more of a polished presentation, I feel
Yeah.
insecure about, right? Even though, like, for sustainability, this is how it needs to be, and I'm really happy with it. But like, making a shift is nerve wracking. Okay, side note for those of you guys that are Horsemanship Insider members, like paying members, I am going to officially stop publishing on the old platform. I'm going to leave it there. So, any of you guys that have memberships for a while, I can't guarantee it will be like years and years, but it would probably be at least 6 months. If you guys want to stay members and have access to the old library, you're welcome to do that. But if you love me, you would please move to the new platform because trying to publish in both places is,
Why did it take you so long to do that? You should have done that like within months. Like,
I,
why do they like? How hard is it to move to a different platform?
you have to re enter your credit card. You have to make the whole decision again. Anyway, people have a,
Was it worth the hassle for you to do it twice, both places?
it's just not anymore.
Well, I don't think it was. I would have freaking made that shift a while ago.
Well, okay, so I'm doing it now, but I haven't really. This is the first time I've like said it out loud to anyone other than Kip and Nathan. So you guys, please go to horsemanshipinsider.com, sign up for the new platform, which is built on the Mighty Networks scaffolding, and it's really, really nice. It's so much easier for me to be creative and stay in touch with everybody. So please do that for me. And if you would like to keep your old membership so you have access to everything, then go for it. But otherwise, please move.
What all is over there though that you haven't moved?
Just not that much. It's not that much, but so the new platform, there's two levels of membership available right now. One is like the Pulse, where you get a live demo every week, like a tutorial basically, and the audio note, the insider dispatch, which is some written content to study. I know you reviewed all of that, and a a supercut from us. So that's like that is the pulse, the base pulse of the membership. And the second tier is kind of like the Compass membership. So that's where you guys are going to get an additional backstage pass video from me, more uncut, more raw. And like I was just editing one for the Compass members, the mid tier members to this morning. It's the one of flour that the video of flour that I did a few days ago, which I'm really excited to show you guys. And I wanted to talk about this morning. Michael, sorry I didn't get that over to you to look at ahead of time, but you'll get the idea. It's kind of an interesting concept to me because you and I have talked a lot about what's good enough. And that was really a highlight in there. So if you're a Compass member, which is a little bit of a step up from the regular pulse, you're going to get that every month. Plus, you'll be able to do the heart and soul with us, which is a Zoom call with fellow students. Plus, I'm going to pull a video from the vault and highlight it, and then we can kind of talk about that too. So that's the confusing part as you move from the old platform to the new platform. But like for instance, this month's content, the Insider Dispatch on Loops and Lilly Pads, the Insider Audio on Loops and Lilly Pads, the demo with Rook and the stick and string, and this is also the video with Flower that I'm posting. It will not be on the old platform this month. So January 2026, it's over. Okay. So there's like 3 years of content over there, but anyone new, don't even bother because it's not available for new people. But okay, does that clear it up?
What's the vault?
Just all the backlog of 4 years of content.
More than that, but 4 years of more recent content.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm just clarifying what the vault means for those. It's not like some like additional location to go find things unless you've hacked Emma's computer and you have all the videos she's filmed for the last 15, 20 years, uh, and want to go watch the takes of the what was it even called? Horsemanship vlog. And it's like, oh, horse, snotted on our ear. Let's start over. That's what's in the vault.
Well, also like all the Gary Bailey videos, all the yeah,
So
all
lots to draw on
yeah,
in addition to new content that will be popping up here and there.
exactly. Exactly. So I'm really excited to be more organized, Michael. And you know what's funny about creating, like really honing in on the organization of all of this? Susan said it like a Canadian, right? I do that on purpose. Is and being able to render some of the images and Michael, like that this is what's been in my head, right? So to be able to flow it out, and not in a way that's just like, oh, this is just for me and Michael, but in a way that is more accessible for all of you guys so that we can play with these ideas with your horses, which you're doing anyway, but it just hopefully can guide you, give you some instruction, some inspiration, and have it in a digestible way so you're not staring at a 1 hour video if that's not what you have time for,
Hmm.
and you can still be a part of the conversation because even you, Michael, you were able to consume all the recent stuff in what, a half an hour ish.
Yeah. Yeah, a little more than that, but I was also texting you and crap in the middle of it.
Yeah, who loves the graphic I did for Michael and I yesterday? You should see the Archie comic version I did. It's so awesome.
I halfway like that one better.
I know, but I just don't know if it works overall. But I was like, oh, I love this. Somehow we could use it. It'd be so funny. And of course, you know me, then I'm like, we could create all the different characters. We could have all the different horses. We could have our little dogs. We
Just
could have our friends. That's the problem. The creativity just looks like, you know,
create a horsemanship comic book series.
yeah. Don't even say it. Why would you say it? Because then I'm going to be up in the middle of the night like, oh, I could
We'll
just
get
use
we'll get the kids involved. with a highly engaging graphic novel.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Corey. I hope I get to come over, Corey, today. I really hope so. Supposedly the fog's gonna blow off by noon. We have had some freezing fog. We have had some super super thick, like not easy to drive in the middle of the day fog. So that's been.
So freezing fog, I don't think I've experienced this. Is this freezing to your windshield because it's foggy but so cold, or is the
The road.
roads are
But
cooled enough that they ice
yeah.
over?
hmm So even though it's not raining, you still end up with black ice.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's not today. I was just outside with the dogs and it's warmer. It's almost 40 degrees up here. But like yesterday it was 30, 34, 35, and like super, super thick fog. Tammy, good morning. Oh my gosh. Mustang news, huh? You guys? I couldn't even say it, but I read it last night. So
Hmm.
now I'll say it. So it sounds like the BLM um quietly changed the policy of their sales authority, which is where you can buy a horse from the BLM for $25. Supposedly this still applies to older horses or three strikes horses, but we'll see. You can buy for a month, and that's it. They put them on your trailer and off you go. That's new because there are 63,000 BLM horses in holding right now.
What was it before?
I don't know, but it's been creeping up, It's just getting to be overwhelming, right? And we knew that was going to
No,
happen.
I mean, what? How many could you
Oh, I think it was for a year.
for a year? Now you can do four a month.
No, for I think actually, holy crap. What was it? Maybe it just said 80 year is basically for every 6 months. I can look real quick, but that's interesting, right? What a pickle. We don't have to dwell on it, but I do have these flower on the top of my mind. But yeah, I suppose what are your you don't have to say your political thoughts, I guess. it's it's such a funny deal because like it sounds political, but on the other hand, it's just like a regular horse lover's thing to think about it. Tammy, I you know what? I don't even remember. So I don't remember where it was. I showed it to Kip last night and then I did a little bit. It was a Facebook post. And then I did a little bit of research this morning and I'm sorry I can't find it right now. So anyway, it is a change and it's a change as of yesterday, I believe, yesterday morning. So I'm sure it'll hit the BLM hub on Facebook pretty soon. But at first, the way I fell asleep thinking about it was that it was just every horse. But it sounded like when I researched it this morning, it sounded like it was still the older horses. I am
That
wondering.
you could take a few more older horses.
Well, so whatever they determine as sales authority. So Flower and Revlon were both sales authority. So I bought those two for $25 each. Versus it used to be that you were adopting them, right? So you would, but things are changing. I think just the reality of it's too many. But of course, everyone's a little bit concerned just because, then they go off into the world and we're trusting that people care about them, which, I was thinking there's so much more awareness and there's been a lot done to showcase how amazing these horses can be, right? So, and there's a community around certainly specifically the BLM Mustangs, um, that didn't exist when they had to put the protection laws in place. So hopefully that's more of a safety net. Don't you guys think? Like that is a change compared to let's say 20 or 30 years ago. And also we didn't have social media back then. So there'll be a lot more of a light shown on what happens. Like if somebody's just loading up the truck and taking them to slaughter, people will find out about it. And then the law could
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that was yesterday. I saw it on like really and truly as I was falling asleep last night. And then this morning I'm like, am I crazy? But I found it. So research it later. Also Bitcoin is ripping again. Here's my original mug. Cheers to NG and all the rest of you Bitcoiners. So Michael, you got my voice text this morning?
No, I didn't listen to it. I
Yes, you
saw it. I saw it. No, I didn't. I listened to the first 20 seconds and I was late, so I like signed on. All I heard was the Verizon part.
okay. Well,
Sorry.
do you have anything else on your mind? I'll let you
Well,
go.
Diane asked when my clinic schedule is out. It is ready. The flyer is being finalized, so I'll be pushing that out very shortly here, which is incredibly late, the middle of January, but thank you for bearing with me.
And maybe Julie, if you want to get it to me, I can post it too on the YouTube channel here. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be smart to do, right? So you guys can follow Michael Sparling. His boot camps are really fun. I do not know from personal experience, but I would be willing to promise that they are. All right, what else? I gotta get
Um,
talk, you
I
guys.
don't know.
This is my deal.
What's that?
I have to let you talk. So talk.
Uh, I don't have anything to say. Remember, I like come in here with a blank mind, and then we start talking, and stuff shows up. No, I pretty excited for your being here soon. Think I'm really liking what I'm getting out of Rooster. Rode to Gamo the other day, just on a quick. Let's see what we can find here. Feeling around for what I'm pulling out of Rooster, and it was pretty cool. Just feeling, I don't know, feeling everything get rounder, and it's the age old, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. And yeah, it it's interesting that as I'm feeling littler and littler things, I might not always nail the process to getting there. For instance, um, you have a great ride, all the things fall into place. It founder, it carries longer, more or whatever. And I've had many, many times before. But right now, it doesn't feel like, will I recognize it again? Will I ever feel it again? How like it's I completely know what it is. And I completely know once I'm there how to move forward with it and what to shape up. It's still the consistently getting to that point day after day after day without getting ahead of yourself, without missing the quality in the setup, um, that's needed for it to truly be turned loose, completely available mentally, emotionally. So, for instance, you're cruising along, and for whatever reason, yesterday, Jody came into the barn and was petting Sadie. So she's bent down, Sadie's sitting there, and Rooster rides by. We're pretty darn focused, and somehow out of the corner of his eye, he sees that, and it was just like, wow. And all the relaxation we'd had pretty well from the beginning. It's not like I even had a, you know, real excitable horse and had to like tone him down, but we were just cruising along, and somehow that looked really weird, and it was right there. And I was like all out the window for a bit, and then like more than just okay, now we're back to it, a little flicker. It was everything got real heightened and emotional for a bit and kind of uppity rather than flowy. And it took kind of going back to the beginning rather than being like, okay, stay in the rectangle, let's keep working. It's like, whoa, whoa, let's make sure we're not tight. Let's turn loose. Let's get back balanced. Um, and so being willing to go back to those things and fully address them rather than go, okay, well now you're kind of flowing again, and so let's get back to what we were doing. And you just don't get there if the horse is not like, if you haven't smoothed all the edges all the way along, um, to that point. So it's just different to me that for whatever reason, the elements that I'm feeling for right now, which is just it's just a tighter rectangle, right? It's just noticing smaller things, balance left to right. Um,
More specific, maybe, huh? Rather than
yeah. So I'm to the left at the canter. Rooster will, and it's been the case for some time, he'll get a little lost as far as following the inside rein or coming forward and around in the canter. So yesterday, I actually in the trot felt it just ever so slightly, and it almost felt like I wasn't putting a counter bend in there, but my outside leg was not just guiding him around the arc. It was saying, um, the arc is here. The outside leg was not saying, come here. The outside leg was saying, so we can go there, and distinctly tucking that shoulder in to the point where it almost felt like I was straightening him. And it wasn't the smallest circle. So, but it was almost like I was asking him to be straight on the circle, is what it felt like, because the degree to which I had to, and it wasn't even like a big adjustment, but
it sounds like a definition of the outside
it was a definition of the outside, but it wasn't a there was no turning involved. It was just get lined up, but the lining up almost felt like an overcorrection, even though it absolutely wasn't. And it was so small too.
because it was more responsive.
I think because it was so small, it felt big, which is weird.
A couple things. First of all, just because this is distracting me. Okay, so if you want, hi, good morning. I sometimes I don't know who you guys are. So if you're real, then I would say go to go to horsemanshipinsider.com if you want to join the membership, and then yes, we will answer your question, Woody. So Michael will answer your question.
Oh, I didn't get the question, but
No
uh,
question.
okay. So we'll come back to your question, Woody. Uh, in any case, when I was making that adjustment at the trot, we'd just been cantering, so there was maybe a little of that residual, like wanting to not following the inside rein, kind of going through the definition of the outside of the circle of the rectangle. And so then I came back to the trot to address it. And again, it was not a big thing. The movement was so small, but it felt like a significant alignment. Let's say that,
That's a
right?
good. Mm-hmm.
So if you're riding an arc or traveling on an arc and there is a kink to the outside, ever so slightly, it was it was a very small movement to the inside with, let's say, the shoulder, but it was like sometimes I'll initially to people that are just getting going, describe being in the rectangle and the rectangle moving forward and having edges and whatever as picture your horse in a hot walker. It's not super tight, but there is a space and the horse has to walk in the space. So the rear gate, if your horse stops, just shoves your horse forward. If your horse is all charged and they're like worked up, then they bounce against the front of the gate. So when your horse is bulging the shoulder, it's like they're out there, scraping their shoulder against the outside of this. I'm picturing a hot walker with
A Euro
the
type.
panels. Yeah, Euro style hot walker. And, maybe scraping your stirrup against the fence out there. Obviously was not that extreme, but if you can imagine a horse going around out there bloodying their shoulder, and the moment they go, this isn't super fun, and they just get lined up, all the, you know, all the pressure goes away. They're just walking along now. So, okay, we're not talking all the pressure goes away. We're not talking about a bloody shoulder because we're pushing so hard on that outside of the rectangle. But it was the effortlessness of going around with this kink. I'm doing it in my neck because I can't, you know, illustrate it in my back or whatever. But you're going around this kink, and then the moment it tucked in there was like, and so I feeling that and how it felt so significant is maybe bigger than better than big, but it did feel like, yeah, maybe significant is the word. It felt remarkably
No, yeah. Hmm.
influential, right? And so having um experienced that more so at the lope than or the canter, where you're kind of going along, it's like you are just not quite, like there's a bleed here or not quite connected to that inside rein, probably mostly because we're getting a little like tipping into being charged. And then we all know once they start getting all out of whack, the getting charged can kind of, um, it'll escalate itself. So I'm going around and I don't know. I guess maybe it did the same thing. Your legs are scissored the other way, but um, I don't know if I really thought about it. If my leg came forward to define that shoulder a little bit, um, probably more so. I just kept him straighter, which is kind of the classic thing as you're just beginning to pick up a soft feel and learning to direct your horse. If you've been used to doing all direct rein, um, movement and then you pick up a soft feel, your horse doesn't quite follow your leading rein, giving up that outside rein and saying, "Hey, you're supposed to come in here," and it still doesn't really connect to the foot as you're learning it. Maybe your timing's really off. Then the horse just does make their way in there eventually. But once you're in a soft feel, part of helping the horse follow the inside rein is not giving up the outside rein and causing them to overbend further. Because in many cases, overbend more, they just go through the outside shoulder more, right? Which is pretty nuanced because, you know, not done in order, it can look very similar, if you're kind of mashing it in there, it can be like holding them where you want them to be. Um, so it requires them being light to the aids and light to follow that inside rein. In any case,
Which will be helped if the more your forequarter yield works, the more that whole situation is going to work as well.
because
There's
the outside aids have meaning.
Mhm. and
Yeah.
because the if the horse is going to make their way around the arc in the forequarter yield in response to the direct rein, the inside rein, which we do want, they're going to be standing up more and be more balanced because they have to push with the outside front foot as well. So the feeling is similar, I think, don't you,
Mm,
Michael? When you say, "Hey, this is the outside, the outside front section of the rectangle," and I think know what you mean in the sense that it's not turning, but it is an alignment
mhm.
the within the
And
current trajectory.
I guess the reason I'm stuck on big or, you know, significant is probably more the idea, but it does feel big, is it is absolutely not a counterbend. And it's not even that I'm straightening or doing more, but the feeling really felt like, hey, I don't know, it's weird. It wasn't overcorrecting, it wasn't putting a counter bend in there, but the degree to which the effect it had was remarkable enough, I guess, that it felt like something. um I don't know. It felt like I lost all the arc, but I didn't. I lined the arc up more
Well,
in
yeah,
order to go forward. Yeah.
I think it's a good point because it's a really good point because as you are developing straight on the arc, straight,
Mhm.
oh, it's going to feel different than when they are overly bent from their withers to their pole,
Mhm.
or worse yet, from the wither to the nostril.
So,
you know, yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good. It's such a good feeling too because everything just gets easier. But it's worth
mhm.
noting just because there's nothing wrong. Don't be alarmed if it feels different, because it can still be correct. That's a great point for I mean,
Yeah.
for all. It is like as we up level, it does feel different and you kind of have to be open to that.
Yeah. It can almost it often feels, I would say, feels wrong because you've been working, perhaps, like I'm thinking, I was helping Julia and Joanne the other day, and trying to convince Julie, like, don't worry about it. Just be short on the reins. Yes, it feels awful, right? Because she does not have any pattern of finding her way into a different movement. And so if you feel that yucky feeling and are like, oh, it's not right, you're just going to keep encouraging what you have right now because it might take kind of some uncomfortableness, both on your part and the horse's part. On your part, because you're going, this doesn't feel right. And the horse going, what in the world? Like, how am I supposed to operate like this? What do you want? And maybe some anxiety in there a little bit, or maybe some, positive searching, if you kind of, I don't want to say creep on it because sometimes creeping up on it just makes it more unclear, depending. I mean, there's a thousand and one situations we could be describing here, and sometimes creeping up on it is more appropriate than other times where you do have to just say, this is the rectangle. If I make it incrementally smaller when you're ready, we're almost, yeah, anyway.
Well, the thing that strikes me though is because actually, Julie, I was just thinking about this writing novella yesterday or the day before because I tend to want to let her out of the shorter rectangle too.
Mhm,
Especially when I feel like, oh, she's not stepping into the rectangle with her hind feet. But what I have to trust, and I know I say this to you guys, but I have to think about it. I have to think about, look, she has to do it
mhm,
and get herself out of this feeling of running into brace. There, she knows how to do it. But then I was not but additionally I was thinking about the culture then that you have built, which Julie definitely has built with Scarlett, is the culture being, you are a partner, you have autonomy, you get to move your own body, so that when you end up in a situation where you've reset the parameters, even if the horse is like, "Mom, help me out of this," and then you're like, "No, you can do it." And then she might be like, "Oh, okay, well, let me figure out how to do it." Because it's really on her to make the adjustment, on the horse to make the adjustment once you've set the parameters. But sometimes when we're up leveling, like, it's hard to be sure, y-
mhm,
especially when it feels different and you're like, "Is this okay that I that I adjust?" You know,
yeah. And it's so much there. I'm back to your setup of mentally, emotionally. Are you, do you have the horse's attention? Like, even if you have the culture of, the horse being able to move their own body and there being something in it for them in terms of you're offering them peace and them feeling good about the whole relationship, everything you're, the way you're presenting things. If you too quickly then jump into, okay, this is what we're working on, without kind of attending to, paying attention every, like, how loose are we, how much is my horse, like, alive and pushing, how much are they worried or not worried, how much are they thinking about me or just going through motions, right? And so Scarlett, on the ground, we were, I think it was, I don't know, someone the other day I was talking about, like, you need a little bit more so your horse isn't just going through the motions. Like, they're kind of there, but they're not really feeling of you if you make a change. Or on the other side, a horse being kind of like really ready but emotional about it. Even when, like, I had Rooster pretty well in like this turn loose spot, or not spot, but like everything was flowing round, he was loose. And then I was like, okay, but stuff's poking out here when I asked for this transition in, saying you got to do it more round, right? We're not just going to flatly, or flat as we have been, it's not really flat, but we're not just going to send ourselves forward. I need it to be a different way. And even in the midst of it feeling very, us being very prepared for it, that emotion right away when it was like, find a different whoop that can't poke out. And I think he like kicked out at one point and just I felt him do this underneath me and then boom the shoulder cleared out and it was just like wide open door for it to happen. But in that moment he goes, boundaries are different, more defined. You're you're not opening the floodgates to move forward because of the way I'm wanting to, kind of push or surge forward. Not even surge, but and there was this kind of spastic searching around rather than a really calm, thoughtful, like there has been other points in that same ride or other rides where it's just like you feel him going, hey, how about this? And it just rolls up. This was like a and doing this, but then as soon as we found it and I opened up, um, it was like you could just feel in him like, oh, okay. Like this wasn't just a um it wasn't for no reason you were putting those boundaries on me. Like you helped me find something and it felt better. It felt more like the other side, frankly. Like it's just he rolls right up there in a very round way to the right and could do it all day long, loose rein and I mean it just his body wants to do that to the left. He tends to get that kink in there um that you see all through different movements where it just kind of peeks out a little bit.
And was he on the track?
Yes.
See, so
Yeah.
isn't that odd? Because he's always had, this is Michael's off the track thoroughbred. Um, Big, beautiful bay with a great mind and a fun personality. Um, but he's always going to the left, heading to the left in every single way. Remember? It's like
Mhm.
that's always been his sticky thing. That's,
Well, I believe
I thought the first year.
I believe they're always yeah, it absolutely is. And that's where
Why
when
would that be if he's been on the track going to the left? I mean,
well, because then the ponying horse grabs the halter at the end of the ride and they're like running out through the right shoulder, just holding their head there. I mean, that's what I picture.
well, they wouldn't be running out through the right shoulder. They'd be running out through the left shoulder because they pick him up on the right, correct?
I believe they pick him up on the left.
Oh,
I'm not sure on that, but I think that's the case.
yeah, that makes more sense. So then he's, yeah, not going left.
And he wasn't hugely successful on the track, so he might have been going out through the shoulder and therefore not having the power he could have. Who
Uh,
knows?
Corey said, "This is interesting. I think I release too early, sometimes thinking that's the only reward, not remembering that I can just be peaceful and think happy thoughts as a reward." That's, yep, totally, totally, totally. Um, yeah, it's kind of, and what you're describing, I feel like typically, well, it shows up a lot when the combination of a different way of arranging the body is also that you also have to have more physical effort. And then sometimes that's like, that's where, especially for a hotter horse, but
Yeah.
it's
I,
uh, what you put in the bank when they come through that, just for the two of you is just so awesome.
yeah. When so I've been flagging folks moving out in the round corral and such on Rooster and you could ride around to the flag all day with him, and he's not worried about the flag at all. But when you're like, you go from the flag being basically pretty quiet, maybe a little shake, and then all of a sudden you're like, get up, like you got to put your surge of energy in here. We're far enough away that if I just rip the flag up and down here, it's not going to be enough to influence that horse. So it's like, kind of hop up there, trot up there quick while I go. And several days of that. And I was usually doing that her a couple days. I unfortunately did that right after like these friggin' amazing rides, and then we get all jacked up around it. So the next couple days, I've been like, no, 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 we have to do this first. You're going first. I'll flag you. Get my horse with me. Flag you, and then we'll get everything polished up like I want it. But um, so one day I was preparing for flagging um someone, and just kind of got him turned loose. Was riding around a little bit, nothing major. Mostly riding in one hand. I think I had my flag basically right off the bat, and so then I'm dialing it up a little bit. And at one point, the horse was like ripping around the loud corral, snorting, kicking their hind legs up. I mean, we have just basically sheer ice everywhere here. So all the horses come in like, just let me move, like horses I've never seen kind of twist their body and kick up are like, I'm in deep sand. This feels great. So it was partly that, but the horse is just kind of winging around there as they first get going in the round corral. And the round corral is not much smaller than the arena. So there's basically like a lane on either side of our round corral when we set it up. And I'm coming right through that lane, and this horse, and I just start ripping my, like the timing of everything just went, and and we definitely had one of our like, I'm a racehorse, like boinging in place moments for just a bit, and then I'm trying to get him back from that. But even there, it's like you just said about, you know, up leveling something to where maybe the rectangle is more, um, the parameters are set tighter, and it's something very athletic. You can come out of that with so much more credibility with your horse and so much more appreciation for, we are doing something toward an end, right? This is a little different, but it was still certainly you stay in the rectangle, like crap just got crazy loud around you, like all at once. Um, and you got to bouncing, but here we are. And it wasn't like boom came through that right away. I was, moving the hindquarters, keeping the flag active. But there and over the course of the next few days, where I was just like, we're really gonna dial this up, and then have it be real quiet, and then dial that flag up, like just like I'm, flagging someone. I'll, go, okay, we got to trot off right as I start that flag in motion, and have that trot completely match me and not have the flag add anything to it, because we'd done several days of me probably not working on that outside of the act of working colts or, flagging folks. So it would be, we're good with the flag, but now here's the intensity of the moment. And then I'd have to go up, but not that. Um, while I'm trying to do a job, right? So you're kind of interrupting, but can't completely black out and do your horse thing. You got to get the job done and then fix it up later. So a couple times then I'm doing this more intentionally beforehand, and just 3 days in of doing that much more intentionally, the kind of centeredness with which he was doing all of it was like that same feeling of, that was a lot to get through. Just the combination of intensity where it's like, you got to get up there now, and this is going, but don't get up there with emotion, right? Um, the intensity of that was like a different form of, here's the rectangle, a lot of physicality and effort in kind of a spark needs to happen, but it still has to stay. It can't turn into this massive flame that's out of control right off the bat. And once he had enough repeats on that, he was like, "Oh, okay, that much more. Don't need to get all upset about any of this." And
Yeah, and the ingredients were there. I think that's what, again, if you've set up a few things, which you set up the flag and set up the energy separately, right? And you guys have the culture of him coming through to the other side, then it all can come together much more quickly than just mashing it all in at one time.
yeah,
And and then that feeds on itself, don't you think? Then the next time you put together multiple ingredients,
that much more confident to
yes,
hold
confident.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
And that's almost like a separate thread of experience that once that starts getting woven through, putting the pieces together and in new combinations, the thread of being successful and of
Yeah.
being willing to feel things in a little bit of a different way. So they don't, like, at first you have to have things so predictable or more predictable that they can start to build confidence.
Hmm.
And depending on how skilled you are as a horseman, you can do that faster, slower, in higher combinations, right? But then as the momentum builds of, like, it's okay for me to feel things in a new way because you're going to show me how this all fits together, or I know I'm going to figure out a way for this all to fit together. So just to continue with the lily pad and the behavior chain concept, when you start to put combinations together and they're like, okay, this is coming, this is not just one thing that I'm going to get right with, but eventually, and I really think starting with three is a good amount. But then you have the routine of creating these and them not for sure knowing how it's going to feel, adding those all up together, but believing that it's going to work out, and like that feeling of, like, oh, okay, yeah, I might not know for sure what this is going to be like. So, and the same for the person, don't you think? Like, as a person grows, they become more confident that it's okay if it doesn't feel like it always has felt. That's all right. We're on our way to something different.
Yeah. Yeah. And as Julie with Scarlett experiences that, like you say, you can be very unsure, like questioning yourself, like, I don't know. Not experienced this before. Like, trust in you that what you're saying is going to come together, right? But as she feels the effect of that, some, like you're saying, same as Rooster's, like, oh, okay, that, now I get it. Julie goes, "Oh, okay, now I see it will come together, and the questions I had around, well, could it be this or could it be that, kind of fade away because you see once you get through it that it is just saying, let's try for something more." And then you're more confident to put them in those tighter parameters, maybe, or ask for a little bit more, even though it's challenging and difficult, and results in some sort of bumping against one another a little bit. As the I mean, that's that spot where I was describing where Rooster kind of kicked out and you just felt it. It was it really did feel like he was going, I don't know where to go, but there's got to be a spot somewhere that I can pop out, right? Um, and yeah, it's interesting because like we were talking last week about there being an energy defining things, but eventually it just becomes a almost neutral. There's no like super intentionality to anything, but right in that moment, it's like intentional, intentional, intentional. But it's like boop, 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 because you can't just be rigid in that, but you have to be right there on time to say not that, not that, not that, because he's just looking for, not like in a sly way, but just going, I don't know where to go, and it's happening really fast, and he's getting a little bit emotional, and
Yeah, it's like a
yeah,
combination of guessing, trying it, and like it's all happening so fast.
yeah.
Trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Really
Well,
try.
and that's the thing, because sometimes it can speed up. Like that a lot was happening very quickly, and other times you can set the parameters and feel them thinking through it, and it can kind of almost happen in slow motion where they're going, "Is it this? Is it that? What is it?" Without, and it depends somewhat on the horse how quick they are to be like, ah. And Rooster's a little bit more along those lines. Um, so in any case, it was, yeah, I think the more you experience that, and I guess it goes all the way along, but um, the more you see it working and have experienced things that maybe are a little uncomfortable, or I suppose it don't fit in a way the way you imagined it to come together, right? So someone who's not super assertive and they see you like direct their horse and it looks like just, or your horse and then their horse, and it just looks like pretty soft and magical, and maybe one swat that's pretty direct and effective, so the horse is like, okay, you're not going to let me just walk into your hip, and or I'm, yeah, you're not going to let me,
You're not.
you're not going to allow me to just stand there while I walk into your hip, right? And then kind of beg you over. Like, you're coming in and I'm not going. And it's like, dude, move over. But it's like a one and done sort of thing sometimes when you're on time and effective. And so it kind of looks like you're not doing much with their horse and it just like smoothly comes together. And then you're telling them, like, get in there, have some presence.
Hard though, you guys.
Right.
I
Yeah.
am here to acknowledge that when it's your horse, I had
Yes.
to do that with Novella yesterday, and I was just sick over it. And I was thinking about all of you guys because I know you feel the same way, and I just wanted somebody to hold my hand and be like, "It's okay," because you just think, I don't want to hit her. I don't want to swat her with the
Yeah.
flag. I don't want to do it, and just feeling like such a baby because it's my own horse. Whereas, of course, if it was one of your horses, and part of it is because I haven't made any promises, or like if you take somebody else's horse, you get to set the whole expectations right away. Versus if it's our horse, a little bit I was feeling like, oh, I'm breaking some sort of promise to you because now I have to be in there. And in fact, it was exactly what you're talking about. Like when I went to walk into her hip, it was just delayed.
Hmm.
So I had to be much more, and then of course she's moving, trying to put effort into all the other things that were easy for her yesterday. And I'm like, "No, it has to be this specific thing." So I had to be more clear, but it felt like I was being too firm because the rest of everything is so flowy and easy. So I'm just saying, you guys, it's harder when it's your own horse.
And yet, with repeats, the more you go, oh, okay, being assertive isn't being mean. That is what's getting me closer to what I'm seeing happen when you take my horse. Um, but yeah, then you just have to learn that lesson kind of over and over again, right? Because you might experience it once or twice and like, oh, okay, yeah, I see it's working, and then you try to do it again, but you're not. Timing isn't great. And then you're kind of doing more with the flag, but still not getting a change, and then that really feels awful. And it's like, okay, but now do more because you've kind of
You're entered up then.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the pain of I maybe pain is a bit dramatic, but the not wanting to have to do that. Just wanting it to somehow come together. Even though it's not like it's the end of the world if our horse is out with other horses and they take a big old chomp out of them.
Hmm.
They're not going to be all like, "You hate me now."
Yeah.
But but we're not horses, as people have pointed out before. We're not horses, but it is, I guess all I'm saying, it's a real thing.
What
And
what I try to say that I think
don't be
again
such
what?
don't be
Don't be
such
such a bee. No, I don't say that. In fact, I don't know that I've ever said that. But I think realizing I threw my train of thought off. Realizing that the horse will like it more,
Mhm.
appreciate you more, enjoy the interaction more, feel better about themselves, better about the whole thing if you up level, if you insist on a response as opposed to nagging,
Yes.
right? In
Yes.
in that case, let's just say moving the hip on the ground. But then you go all the way through to what we were just talking about, a rooster just kind of like "Ah!" in that spot, or Julian Scarlett going, "This doesn't feel good," and is this going to come through? And when it does, Scarlett's like, "Oh, geez, that was a lot of work, but it did feel a lot better than kind of being a little more strung out." Or Rooster, I mean, you could just feel him go, "There it is." And I don't know that I think I maybe repeated it one more time after that. I don't know if I did for sure or not. Um, but it was like this huge sense of relief, not in, okay, the pressure's over now. Like I can, like relief is often used that we kind of don't don't appreciate as much because it seems to be missing the point a bit. Like the absence of pressure is the value in the horse.
The
Not that
marker.
idea. What's
Yeah.
that?
It's the marker though. It's the you got it. That's
Yeah.
the release of pressure is the you got it. And
Yeah.
then the feeling afterwards is the reward, right? But
Yeah.
but but it's still a dopamine. So I think there's probably two. Like, let's just pretend we actually know what's going on in the brain, but it's for the marker is the dopamine hit, and then hopefully the serotonin comes in with the feeling of appreciation and peace and all the
Yeah.
rest of
But you felt, or I felt him going, it's almost like is like a balloon where you're like putting pressure on a balloon, and it kind of like bulges out a little bit between your fingers here or there, and then suddenly the air finds a spot where there's more space between, and then all the little bulges that were happening between all your fingers draw back in, and everything, the balloon expands out this, the spot where there's more space. um
pretty
or
good.
like or
Pretty
like see, I'm getting better with these analogies. Or like the kids have the little fidget sort of things, like a ball that's squishy inside, and, and you can squeeze it between your fingers, and then it all pops out one spot. And that's what it felt like with Rooster. Like he was trying to get out through these little gaps that he perceived might be there,
Mhm.
And I was like, nope, that gap is, oh, there, I can see you think there's a space here to do it, but this is the space. And it was just like,
I like the stress ball idea because then it's not so much, it's not hot wire. It's like you could test
yeah,
those little places and there's room for you to explore. But when you get the real thing that, and this is, don't you think, Michael, this is why having a curriculum that suits the horse. I don't know how you do it without that because I don't know how you have the feeling of contentment when the movement or the answer that you're wanting the horse to find. Well, let me say it in a positive way. I think when you have a curriculum that suits the horse, then when they find the answer that you have in mind, the feeling of intellectual relief, but also physical suitability.
hmm,
That is such an awesome feeling. It's more holistic, right? Rather than the horse just figuring out, oh, well, I need to maybe hold my head in this weird way or, you know, make a weird gait or something like that. When it suits the horse
yeah,
physically, there's then you have a chance at ending up with the horse feeling just right. Then it can be more like the stress ball where it's trying to find the ultimate place for it to go, but it's not like getting zapped on the way there,
yeah.
like. So what are your guys' thoughts? What I was thinking, what is the word that we would use if we all had to pick one word? What would it be for that moment of up leveling and finding something new? I don't know if I can come up with one word. Like I think it feels like two words every time I'm flipping through them. Like finding it when things have been more difficult than they are for the rest of the ride, let's say, or have been all week or month or whatever. Uh, there's a sense of relief to find the answer, but also it's a sense of pride, like a sense of accomplishment. And I think that's the dream when I'm riding, in the best case scenario, that my horse, during those moments of struggle, that they, more and more believe that they're going to find it. And yes, there's this still this feeling of relief, but it's more like yes, I got it, versus like, oh, thank the dear Lord I didn't die. you
Yeah.
know so I don't think I can just one accomplishment, maybe,
I
if
would
I.
say discovery.
Mhm. What do you guys think? What if you had to choose one word? You could choose two, because I kind of had to choose two. Because at first I was thinking of ingredients like power and peace, but then I was thinking of more of the intellectual and emotional. Once again, thinking of the horse being whole mentally, emotionally, physically, and then, of course, spiritual. It's relief for me, says Corey. A gratefulness that I'm on the right track and not screwing up my horse. Yeah, that's a good word. I mean, it's kind of funny, like, to hear these guys saying it too. It's like,
It's
because it's such a universal feeling, I think. Like Sarah says, she was waffling between accomplishment and discovery.
in so
It's
describe discovery, Sarah, because like as Emma's talking and then Corey says relief and there's these more like those are more descriptive of the feeling and the emotion. But when I'm saying discovery, like some of that, it's not like the word carries that, but the feeling behind it has that. You get what I'm saying? Like the relief and the like,
Ah,
wow.
ah, God,
Yeah. The
yeah.
wow and the
Wow, it's a good one.
this is this is something. I mean, that to me is what's or the you know, Corey then just said pride, um,
I love how she said
gratefulness.
team growth. That's awesome.
Yeah, team growth.
Standing.
Susan said understanding. Yeah.
Team growth. That's a really good one. Go team. That's right. I think and the more that those moments of struggle, I think we can say struggle without it being negative, right? I think the moments of struggle become a team effort,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still tricky because we have to be the leaders, and especially as we're shepherding the team through some struggle, it's like and that we don't know for sure what it's going to feel like on the other side. That's the I guess the battle of the leader is this is the self-doubt. If you don't know for sure, then but I would agree with you when you find when it works, it's like, yes, go team.
Well,
Yeah, that's
Sarah said like you were digging in a pile of stuff and you found the thing you were looking for. Like my son sits there and says, "Ooh, looky, look it."
oh, that's a
Yeah.
good one. Or like chopping wood. Right, we have these big pieces of oak right now, and some it's just impossible. Like I am not going to be able to swing an axe and have it go through some of these dense sections. But I can't always tell which is which. So typically, I give it a shot, and when it works, it's like I love chopping wood. You feel like so powerful. And then, of course, the discovery component, because I didn't know for sure if this piece of wood was even splittable, and then feel extra strong. And yeah, Kip thinks it's hilarious how much I love chopping wood, but it's all of those components. Ah, yeah. Ooh, looky look. Yeah, we'll keep that one. Remind me Sarah's son's name. I don't remember. Yeah,
I
it's
don't
just
remember
so the
either.
discovery thing. It's just sometimes it's a little nerve wracking when you don't know for two things. When you don't know for sure, you can find it. And also you might not even know for sure what you're looking for. And that's the coach, or at least having words describing it, or having a visual or something that gives you a breadcrumb where you're like, okay, it's got to be around here somewhere. What a fun feeling though, right? And again, playing in the pool of we're doing this as a team, we're discovering something, even as simple as with the flower, the flower's first loop, her first chain, like the first real, what am I trying to say, active or participant of, I don't, you guys have to help me why this is such a, I just think it's weird. Or I can't quite put my finger on why this is so meaningful to me in regards to flower. Because we've already been doing stuff and I was already showing her things from day one. But I'll just describe what I was teaching her and putting together for her is that there's going to be a chain for her of items to accomplish. And it was very simple. Pat her on the forehead, touch her. Let's just say, touch her on the forehead, touch her down the left side of her neck, touch her down the right side of her neck. Did I mention that last week? So I don't remember. No, it just happened, I think. It, but Michael, why do I care? Why is that such a different she's moved along. We as a team have moved somewhere different than where we were before. Isn't that weird? I feel like that's really strange for me to, but it's a really big deal. And the context or the way she's thinking about how we're operating together is different because of that, and me too. A sequence, understanding a sequence, but a constructive one, because she's really good at learning patterns, but they haven't ever been like intentional and that I've shaped them. I mean, kind of, sort of hook or crook, but not really specifically. And so, as you're talking about something as advanced with Rooster, or like I was talking about the other day with novella, and like, a better walk cantered apart and trying to weed out the piaffe in between there and all of that, like those are super intricate and way farther along. But like getting back to the source and the base with a wild creature, that like I've taught, like, okay, try to hang in there while I touch you. But now making these specific rudimentary lily pads and arranging them and having her be a part of it is like see spot run. But I guess I perhaps because I was thinking of either it like move off, yield the hindquarters, square up, like at liberty, like we were talking about, or the ABC in your groundwork, or the 1 2 3 when you're riding. But this is even more basic than that.
Um,
And I guess, I mean, who's really going to have to deal with that? Not even me with a wild one, other than this really, really wild one. So it's just bringing my attention to the value of making a sentence when you can, where intellectually on her part, she's really participating and understanding that.
well, and I think, I mean, the word that keeps coming to mind for me is flow, because you're when you're teaching these intellectual components, or you're teaching a loop, or um, chaining like this component to this component to this component, like even a set of three, like it three can have some rhythm over against two, right? But three is kind of a like
Mm.
um like someone's at a piano, it's a and then it just kind of, and that's something, it starts there, that the beginning of these independent intellectual pieces that the horse might learn, these items on a list, these, you know um things you might describe to someone, or that you might be trying to learn as you're just getting started with this, are pieces that the horse can appreciate, and then you begin to string them together, and it's almost like I say, just like a piece of music of and you start to hear something shaping up, and then there's maybe a few more notes over here, and then like as you get better at the piano, or maybe it's a composer. I was just actually saw, um someone sent me something of Michael Jackson, um his way of creating music early on. I mean, there wasn't, he didn't have a lot of studios. It was all just and like his own sound of his own voice and the way he's moving and tapping the table, and he just gets something going, and then like it just flowers from there. Um, so the the stringing together a little bit more until it, like, the more it strings together, the more you have an opportunity for actually it flowing. right? And it's the flow state, I think, that is um, that is the soothing part.
That's a great way to say it. And at first, I think this is the part where because she's so far back it or down at what we're just I'm trying to get to the base of it with her
Mhm.
is that drawing her attention, like it's like as if she is first able to hear the music or notice that there's a series of notes that have their own sound, and the attention that that draws from her and the curiosity that that draws out in her, that there's a combination before it can be in a comforting flow, I guess is what I mean, because you're right, that's absolutely you guys will see on the video. I don't know if you can. I mean, you can categorize it as comforting because she does get more all right. But when you look at the mule, you're not like, oh, she's so comfortable and turned loose. She's more comfortable 10 minutes later, but
Mhm.
you're not gonna say, oh, this animal is turned loose.
Mhm.
Right? You follow me? So I don't know that I would say it's a flow, even though it is. It's just stripping back so far to what you consider like the beginning of something.
Yeah.
And that's the value of flower for me is, and hopefully sharing that with you guys, is that how often do we get to just go back farther and farther and farther? You know, the atom splitting open and splitting open and splitting open, and eventually your brain gets tired. But
Mhm.
no. Um, Julie says the piece of log also has to be just right, straight grain, ready for your wedge to land just right. I love chopping wood too. Yeah, and I can't. So fun, right? And the thing for me is like I have not been able to tell. Like I see the straight grain and I see some other things, but I can't decipher for sure which is which. Corey says it's really encouraging for me to try to really focus on the flow you're talking about because I often don't know what the next lily pad should be, but flow always feels like progress.
Yeah.
And says then when I'm focused on a soft flow, my horse fills in some steps for me. And Sarah says yes, Corey. Michael, do you remember
Because flow can be like you don't even know. It might not be intellectual. I think this is what Corey's driving at. You don't even know what makes it feel right or what you're actually doing or what the horse is doing, but it just feels right. And you know, being able to trust that, but also like Corey says, to look for that. And you can almost, I don't know if it's a cheat, but it's maybe the way it all should be going. Maybe we should stop talking about it and describing it. But like that is a important thing to watch for because that is a significant means of discovery that you own and kind of get ahead basically. Like I don't even know what I'm doing here, but this feels right, so we must be headed in the right direction. Has yeah, definitely be looking for that.
and remember how we used to talk about when this was a bazillion years ago, you guys, but I remember I was up in the coverall this time of year probably. And I remember just being like, oh my God, I can say A and C and the horse will find the B.
Hmm.
I remember just being like, that's the horse bringing something to the table that but they have to believe in all that. But once they do, and if we stay open to that, like you're saying, Corey, the horse can fill in for you. Maybe be like, okay, we're on this lily pad, we're going over here. Can you help? you know, and they'll find so that it's more in a flow. Isn't that interesting? That's amazing. When there's a place of contentment and partnership and being in the rectangle together so that you have a place to start from. And then somehow you describe to the horse where you're going, and then they can make it flowy in between. Oh, that's a lot of
Well,
allow.
and you rely, especially as you've built that understanding and cooperative culture, you rely on the innate nature of the horse to want to be a part of interaction and be a part of moving together, like them being a herd animal, them being, you know, incredibly interested in engaging with people. Some horses more than others, but really all of them, if offered something that feels good, th- they're attracted to that, right? So that's the horse wanting to fill in, or filling in, because they're looking for that flow too. I was also thinking, like, in terms of feather, like
Or
when you had
which
Flower, sorry, Flower, when you had her and Revlon in the brown corral, I think at one point you mentioned just flowing with them, right? Just like they're moving around and just kind of making yourself a part of that movement, right? So while piecing together the little lily pads, or the, like, you're not even, like you said, at ABC at all, but just your the pieces you're sequencing together right now are, can I just touch here, touch there, and it's not.
without you leaving the
Yeah.
territory.
So I mean, you're in a smaller space there that doesn't allow for a huge amount of movement and flowing, but like going it's going to evolve from you having to flow and be kind of just matching her into that attractiveness of moving and going together is going to, I'm not telling you something you don't know, but is that's where you're headed, is it flowing to her being attracted to you and flowing
Which
into
I
you. So
think is just
there can, but I guess what I'm saying, would it, the thought that crossed my mind, it didn't come out yet, is there can be flow even before the horse is flowing with you. You can flow with the horse, and that happens a fair bit when you're starting a horse too. Like, you got to feel where the horse is going and then accentuate that or shape that, or they're about to make a, you feel a transition across their mind, and you hop in with that, and but then eventually you're saying, not right yet with the transition, feel back to me, and now here comes the transition. So the flow, even though it might not look like flow too much with Flower right now, it's been there in other ways, and it's taking time, but it will come around to, obviously, to where she's flowing with you, and then it's more along the lines of the flow that Corey's talking about feeling for.
feels like we're 1,000 years from that. Because, like you're talking about, the horse you usually is more interested.
Yeah,
You and the mule too. Like talk about feather. She was all entered up like right away.
yeah.
Versus the
But
CC.
it's interesting. Yeah. So I went on a field trip with Lydia yesterday, and here I'm in this bus with, I don't know, 50 some kids, maybe. I don't know how, probably close to that. I mean, I don't know how many seats there were, but anyway, lots of kids, and you're seeing some that just like are leaning against the window, looking out. You're like, what's going through their mind? And then one who's drawing, another one reading, a couple that are reading next to one another and would kind of engage a little bit. And then, of course, you have the boys in the back seats that are just like constantly being told, get your butt in the seat. And they're pushing each other off the seat and jumping on each other. It's like the incredible diversity of personalities, um, that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I appreciate that as much as an adult. Like, you're around kind of the same people, their personalities, you don't think about it that much, they just are who they are. And I mean, you appreciate them for who they are, but you're not like, wow, they're so unique and different because they're familiar to you. And then maybe you're interacting with a new folks at a clinic or whatever. This is just my life. I don't leave the farm a whole bunch, which I kind of like. Um, but you're like, wow, this person's really quiet. How do I reach out and meet them? But to just see this large group of students that you've never met before and see how wildly different, and you're just thinking, what's going through their mind? Like, what would what would interacting with them feel like? Like these teachers that have 20 some students in their class, and they're
Corey.
trying to deal with the kid that's just way over the top, and then the one that's kind of just super sensitive and quiet, and then the one who overreacts to things and is just emotional. It's like they pretty quickly see all the individuals, and they're so varied, and then they're got hormones showing up and all this. But um like, thinking, what's going on in the brain? Like, how are they perceiving the world? What matters to them? What do they need? What is their behavior seeking? How do I meet them where they are? How do I get this one to engage with this one so they can grow and, you know, get out of their shell or tone themselves down and be sensitive? Like, and so you think of horses, and a lot of times you're around kind of the same horses. Some people have one horse, some people have a couple, and then, years later have another. They don't have exposure to a lot of horses, but to really appreciate how much um, flower is different than feather, and the challenge of drawing that out, and then also going, well, what does this look like for this horse? Like, what is she's not going to be feather or whatever. Pick a more in your face gregarious horse. I mean, she'll probably be, you know, more interested, more cuddly than she certainly is right now. But who knows what it turns into? Is she just one of those a little bit more reserved to herself sort of horses? And to me, that is like, you have to meet them, right? You can't just draw them out without
Being
trying to find them where they are,
Mhm.
right? um, because that's the thing that's going to be attractive to them. That's the thing that's going to make them want to flow, is you appreciating and understanding them. Even though, like, when I ask you to yield, like, come on, get alive, is still more interesting to them than, like, "Oh, come on, move, and you're sensitive, and you're kinda quiet and laid back, and I don't wanna do too much, because if I do too much, then you're gonna feel like I'm pushy." Like, it's still like, "Come
is
on."
what draws the horse out.
What's that?
Sometimes that is what draws the horse
Well,
out,
yeah,
right?
and absolutely not doing that will shut down that horse as well, because it's that like I was saying last week, for a super sensitive horse, maybe even going in there without intentionality of like, okay, I don't want to do too much, can just feel like this incredible amount of pressure that's, I don't know if it's confusing or just seems, I suppose it's confusing because it's like, what the hell does this even mean? You're like around me, like trying to finesse a relationship out of this, and it's just not matter of fact. And the horses, no matter what their personality, deal in matter of fact, right? Things are
Yeah.
pretty cut and
It's
dry, black and white in an interaction between a horse. There's not a lot of um there's no like, oh, what do you mean? What do you want? It's like,
yeah, I mean, there's yes, yes, yes. Clarity and confidence. Um, but also there's just a lot of subtlety. You know that.
yeah.
There's a lot of subtlety.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's the subtlety, but not in the subtlety losing track of clarity and,
Not being a wet noodle, they don't
yeah,
like.
not being a wet noodle is still saying, hey, like, if I was another horse and I wanted you to move, I'd just tell you to move if I was in charge. But having the other side of that be, I know I can't leave that away, but if I'm going to do that and want any sort of connection with you, it can't be just this cold, hard, do what I say. It has to come from a place of, I see you, we're connected.
There's the
You
flow. Keep
you get in
that.
the flow. I'm gonna match your flow to a degree. I'm not just gonna insist you go on the intense energetic flow that I'm after because that's my personality. Um, I don't know what flower is going to blossom into, right? But um you because that skepticism can um inhibit so much of their openness, but it's also just as possible that she is the type that will remain more reserved than the next one. And then certainly the work you're doing of like letting it be her idea, working more loose, taking all that time to get the tag off, um,
It was such a
will
benefit.
will pay off, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to. Um, that's the only way you're going to convince her that she's valuable too.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah. Look at Corey's coming.
I
Corey
so
says, haha, I was just having a moment because Corey was a middle school teacher. She now does horses full time, but she was a middle school teacher. She was just having a moment of thankfulness of not having to ride on a bus on a field trip anymore. But yes, once you know the individuals, it's so much more fun. And then she said, Michael, your metaphor grade for the episode is A plus. Well, didn't say plus,
just
A.
an A.
Just a
I could improve to an A plus. Thank you, Corey. I'm even impressed with myself, so I don't know.
like, whoa. Yeah, good deal. All right. Well, anything else or we're over this morning? Thanks you guys for your comments on that. Helps it we got to laugh at this just a tiny bit because what a crazy ride. Right? I was thinking what was my metaphor the other day? I was talking to my business coach and I was like, I don't first of all, caveat, I don't like roller coasters. Second of all, I do feel very secure on the track right now, and I definitely like in a new way, right? That it's like the cart is going to move smoothly along the track and I am in the cart. It's gonna be a little bumpy. It's still gonna be a little bumpy.
One of those wooden roller coasters from way back.
Oh my god. Hopefully not, but it's not like you're gonna think that it's like, driving down a flat road. It's like it's still gonna be. You're gonna feel it, but you're definitely on the track and you're definitely in the car. So similar with, especially for those of us who are on this very specific kind of philosophy of practicing horsemanship. It's like we're definitely on the track, we're definitely in the cart, but we gotta laugh at like being like, oh my god, get the pictures to prove it. All right, you guys. So I'm so happy that this worked. I really hope Verizon gets their shit together. I will give them a day or two more and then I'm going to switch carriers. So if you have Verizon stock, now might be the time to dump it. So we'll see. But I'm glad it worked for this week. It's good. Yeah. And
Good show.
I'm excited to see you guys coming right up. Got my plane ticket new from last week. And what else? That's it for now. Julie, maybe you can give me the little poster or whatever, and I will put it here for Michael's 2026 calendar. All right, you guys. Thanks everybody for being with us this week, and we will see y'all next Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Central.
All right. See you next time, you guys. Bye.
Bye.